What's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning back in. Hence the thumbnail emoji with the little emoji, holding his chin, questioning stuff. This is going to be going over all the questions I've been getting regarding my DCA strategies, and then also regarding, Defender and how it's different from a DCA strategy. Because there are some people who are saying, there's nothing different about this. It's, you can do this all with DCA strategies, and my personal opinion is you just can't. You really just can't. And that's the reason that a lot of people have gotten bagged up. If your money bag's over there and you have a ton of capital, then sure, yeah, maybe Defender's not the right product for you. But if you're working with lower balance, Defender is able to help you get out of these bags and into profit better than a traditional DCA strategy. There's a lot of other strategies too that other bots use, like the shorting stuff. There's all sorts of other strategies out there on the market. But Defender just kind of tackles one of them, and I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts on that. So I've been getting a lot of questions about the DCA buying triggers set to -1. They're all set that way. And it's going to be a little bit easier for me to explain my reasoning in these examples as well if I just use -1. But the reason I'm using this is because at every level here, every DCA level that you purchase at, assuming it purchases directly at -1%, you're bringing your bag value back up to -0.5% every time. And that is the wrong arrow. So every DCA level, you're going to see this occur. Now, granted, this is not 100% true because these triggers, whatever DCA buying triggers you have, which we went over in the last video, which would be somewhere in here, and granted, you might be using something completely different, but we're using Stoke RSI Cross, Stoke RSI, and the RSI in conjunction for our DCA buying strategies. All of these have to become true for this buy to occur. So if they're not true at -1%, this DCA buy trigger is enabled at -1%, but PT may not actually purchase that coin until, the bag value drops to -5%. And then all of these become true, it purchases, and then you're in, you doubled your bag if you're using DCA buy percentage 100. Pretty, self-explanatory, but, if they get triggered at -1%, for example purposes, that's what we'll assume, every time the DCA buy trigger occurs, you're bringing your bag value back up to -0.5%. And so another reason I'm using -1 is basically because in my settings that I released yesterday and talked about in my video yesterday, if you haven't done so, check it out. We talk about how we're adjusting indicators based on market conditions. And obviously these are feeder settings. You can adjust these to your PT settings as well. But in a bear market, I want to look at longer term candles. So I want to look at maybe the daily or the 4-hour, depending on your, risk tolerance. I want to look at longer term candles. So that way I have a better idea of kind of the macro view of things, right? Get me into better buying situations when the markets have turned on longer candle periods. So that's what we're doing here. And that's the reason I'm using -1 is because if I'm in a bear market and the coins are dropping significantly, then my buy triggers are probably not going to be triggered anyway until some sort of reversal in these indicators has become, a sweet buying opportunity. RSI underneath 30 on the 4-hour is one of my favorite trading indicators. Same with the stochastic. So all three of these, in the stochastic RSI cross, that bullish divergence that we're looking for is definitely fantastic on the 4-hour. I love using that in my manual trading, which is why I wanted to integrate it into, my PT settings. So that is the reason I'm using -1 is because if we're in this bearish market, then this 4-hour, no matter if my bag, I can enable my DCA strategies whenever I want, basically, is kind of what I'm getting at. So, all right. So that explains that. And then every time that you purchase at these levels, it's bringing your bag back up to -0.5%. And the reason being is, say your initial cost was $5, and this is just in dollars. You can use Bitcoin, whatever you want, but I just use dollars. For example purposes, is your DCA buy percentage 1, when that DCA trigger gets triggered and it's bought, then you now have $10 in the game, right? You've doubled down your initial cost of $5. So now you have $10 in that coin. On level 2, you have 20. Level 3, you have 40. It just doubles every time because you're using max rebuy percentage, or sorry, that's Defender talk. You're using this DCA buy percentage of 100. So when that happens, you know, at the end of your 7 DCA buy levels, you're at $640 bag. That's pretty hefty. Like, that's a big bag. And something to understand is, what do you do when you're sitting there? So what we'll do is we'll go into Profit Trailer and look at this example. I have one coin here. I cleared out everything else, sent it to a different account. And this is just so you guys can fully understand what's happening. I have 45 coins of OMG. I bought it at, you know, 0.000864. Okay. So I'm sitting at a negative 18.83% loss. If you can see on the chart here, I bought it somewhere in this area. Okay. Maybe it's actually the next one down. So yeah, somewhere in here. So you can see pretty much exactly negative 18.2.6, whatever, however you're looking at this. I apologize if it's a little bit small, but that is the idea. We purchased somewhere in here. We fell pretty significantly. And remember, assuming you've exhausted all of your DCA buy levels, you're sitting in a bag of roughly $640. And I think mine went through 4 DCA levels, and I'm sitting at, let's see, I obviously had more of an initial cost than 5, but, you know, went through 4 DCA levels. I'm sitting at $245 as my purchase cost, and now I'm at 198. What do you do in this situation? You have too much freaking money in a bag. Maybe you have a couple $1,000s in a bag. Well, the biggest problem here is, in order to get this bag back up close to a 0.5% loss, you are going to need to buy a ton of these coins in order to get yourself out of this bag, because you're sitting at a really negative percentage, right? So say you just doubled down your bag value right now. You just bought an additional 45 coins at market value of 0.000765. So an example there would be you have 45 coins. It's quite simple, actually. We don't even need to do the math. You're sitting at negative 18.95. You rebuy another 45 coins at market value. You can cut this in half. All right. So now you're at negative 9.45% roughly. Okay. Now you just spent an additional, $198 to double down your bag. That's a lot of money. Like, what if you're sitting in a bag of $5,000 or $500? It's still a lot of money, and you're still at negative 9%. What happens? So say you're at negative 9% now. Let's look at that. You're sitting roughly right here. Okay. How often, we're on the daily candle right now, how often does this coin pump 9% in one day? Granted, maybe this is a bad example because we see this giant candle wick going above, but that is unlikely in a normal scenario. So when you look at that, you say, okay, I just spent another $200 on this bag to get me to where? Negative 9%? That kind of sucks, because what am I supposed to do at negative 9%? I'm in the same situation. What happens if this coin continues to fall? If we bring this down to the 15-minute chart and really zoom in, we can see that even in this downtrend, let me get rid of these RSI and make this bigger so we are not struggling here. But what we're seeing here is, even in these downtrends, when we go back, we bought this coin way back up here somewhere. 9, this is 9, so somewhere in 8.6, we bought it in here. But if you look at this, I mean, there are some serious buying opportunities where you can get nice gains. That's a 3% gain in the matter of maybe an hour. Same thing here. Good buying opportunity. But the problem is, if you just use DCA strategies and just double down and try and, dollar cost average your way back in, you're not going to take advantage of these big pumps. Like, this was that 14% pump that we saw on the daily candle. But you're still sitting at this negative 9%. And if we bring it down, this is where this red line is where the current market value is. So if we drag this over to, well, I guess this is the red market line value. So you purchase somewhere in, probably right in here, in your DCA level to get you back up to negative 9. Problem is you're still sitting at negative 9% and you're not able to take part in a lot of this action. Even all the way up here from this bottom to this top, you were still in the negative by about a percentage point, and you never would have sold that bag. And you maybe would have got it. Like I said, this is an unlikely scenario where something just pumps super hard. But if you're sitting in this negative 18%, you didn't take part in any of that. The nice thing about Defender is we can pull it up and I can show you is we can start defending on these 45 coins. Okay. So what it's going to do is, you can use all this. We can also use the cool new auto defend feature. We'll start this largest loss. I only have 1 coin, so it doesn't really matter. We have a holding here. We'll see how long it takes for it to take. Could take a few seconds, I think. But anyway, so what Defender is going to do is going to split these 45 coins up. Look, it just went. And so now we're sitting at, we can go into Profit Trailer and see how many coins it split up. So obviously something went into the dust, OMG, and we have 1.02 out of my 45 coins are in the dust. The rest are in my pending log, and this pending log can take some time to populate, so don't get worried if you don't see it there. You can check on your exchange account. That's something I was worried about at one point. So let's see. So it's about $4.50. So now with my settings here, I'm using a max rebuy percentage of 100. So what it's going to do is and my target percentage is negative 0.5. So what it's going to do is it left 1.02 of that original bag in my dust log. Now PT is looking to buy that OMG coin in the possible buy log. So OMG is right here and it's looking to buy it. Once PT ultimately does buy this coin, then Defender will go in and buy an additional amount to meet your max rebuy percentage here. And basically what that's going to equate to is your initial 45 coins that you had sitting in your DCA log at negative 18% or whatever it was. Once that happens, your target percentage is reached. So you're going to be at negative 0.5% loss on a new bag of 46 coins now, because your max rebuy percentage was 100% of your original bag, and Defender left 1.02 coins in your dust log. So those coins will get merged together, and now you're sitting at negative 0.5%. So say you purchased, you started defending somewhere in this area, and then finally your buy triggers got triggered here, then all of a sudden you're at negative 0.5% loss. Guess what? You're able to take part in that. You're able to take part in these sells here. And then you're also able to do it in these situations, right? And remember, like, we're still reliant on our DCA triggers, or if you're using signals and alerts like some of the other community members out there. I know Gnome is using his signals and stuff. That's what is determining when you're actually buying. So like starting this defend that I just did, nothing is really happening. I'm sitting in this, where did Defender go? I'm sitting in this waiting for buy stage here. And it's literally just waiting for OMG's triggers to become true in Profit Trailer. And when that does happen, my settings will be met, right? Like my target percentage will be met there. And so that's the coolest part, is we get to take part in these swings here, when if you're using a normal DCA strategy, that's just not the case, because it's going to take and require a whole hell of a lot more balance for you to really double down in your coins to get you back up into these, kind of livable ranges and take part in some of these sales. So with that said, that's all I got for you. And your max rebuy percentage, we kind of touched on that. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them, and I will catch you on the next one.